And he really got the crowd going. And here they are, the Scousers United.
I can't play the sound while I'm live, or I'll get copyrighted. So we're gonna do some more commentary for the UFC, and we're gonna start with Paul Craig versus Volkan Ozdemir. Should be a great fight. Volkan Ozdemir, and then he fought Daniel Cormier, and Daniel Cormier kind of humbled him with some wrestling. So it showed that there was a big hole in his game, and people exploited that from then on. But man, he was one of the best strikers, and he had a really good initial title run. But that championship fight with DC showed the skill gap that he needed to take over to become champion. So he's been on his way back up, and I'm curious about this fight with Paul Craig. I'm going to notify some people that I'm live. All 0 of my listeners can just hold on for 1 second. All right. They're showing some highlights. I wonder who this is from. Paul Craig, maybe? Yeah. Let me see if I could put on the closed captions so I know what's going on. Subtitles, yes. They started late. It was supposed to be at 3 p.m. this card started, but it's 3:30 and they're just starting to walk out now. So guys, if you see in the description of this video, I have some, oh my God, someone was giving the straight up middle finger to Volkan Ozdemir hardcore on his walkout. Sheesh, these fans can be tough. Hey, I got an incoming message. Hey, from Ken Shaloya. What is up? My number one fan, my dad, hanging out from home, always supporting, watching my videos. You'll see under all of my videos, he'll throw his commentary in, his good points. Love that shirt. Yes, the Rocky shirt. One of my favorite shirts ever. It's a great shirt. I had 2 hip surgeries, and it was kind of scary going through that whole process. But I wore this Rocky shirt for good luck when I was coming out of the hip surgeries. I got some water. Actually, it's the water I think my dad left here. I got him in the fridge. I've been putting a couple more waters in the fridge since the AC in my car is not working. I take some cold waters with me. So it's going to be Volkan Ozdemir versus Paul Craig. Volkan Ozdemir is a fantastic striker. Paul Craig looks serious, like he's ready to go. Oh, yeah, and I saw the weigh-ins on this one, and Paul Craig looked so fired up. When I originally started watching the UFC, I thought that the weigh-ins where it was just like a fake weigh-in, they actually weigh in a day before the weigh-ins or a couple hours before the weigh-ins. And I gave no merit to the actual weigh-ins, but you could actually tell some things going on from the weigh-ins, like what the current mental state of the fighter is, and it's the last time that people um, look each other in the eye before they're about to step into the octagon with each other. So you could sort of get a sense of how confident someone is or what is going through their head. I'm going to invite my friend El Gun, to this live. My number 2 fan right behind my dad. How you doing, Dad? Any interesting things going on today? I hope you're well. I let El Gun know that I'm alive. Oh, maybe that's him. I like the ring card girls at the weigh-in. Yes, yes. Yes. All right. The tail of the tape. Paul Craig is 34. Volkan Ozdimir 32. Wow. Paul Craig almost 6'4". Volkan Ozdimir 6'2". This is the light heavyweight fight at 205 pounds. And Paul Craig has a 1-inch reach advantage from 76 inches to 75 inches. And we got Bruce Buffer. Oh, my man, El Goon is here. Yes. Yes. El Goon, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad to see you. And I appreciate all the support. I really appreciate it. All right. It wouldn't be a UFC event without El Goon. He's been my fan since day one. My dad's been my literal fan since day one. But the day when I started doing this, El Goon has been there. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing up, El Goon. So glad to see him here. Thank you. This guy, Paul Craig, has got this look in his eye like he's a psychopath, and he just looks like he's so rearing to go. He's halfway into the octagon. He's literally backing Bruce Buffer up, trying to be threatening with his presence. So let's see if he could do anything in this actual fight. Sometimes that's good and that plays for you, and sometimes it's bad and it plays against you. So we shall see. Vulcan Ozdimir too is a great counter striker, and it should be interesting to see if there's a lot of forward pressure from Paul Craig, which it looks like that's what he's going to do based on his super overconfidence, to see if Ozdimir can capitalize with some counter striking. All right, they started first round, and Ozdimir comes out, regular orthodox stance, trying to establish jab, 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 leg kick. Classic stuff. Ozdimir takes the center of the octagon, and Paul Craig is, oh my goodness, a sloppy takedown attempt from Paul Craig, and Ozdimir instantly shuts it down. Like I was saying earlier, it looks like Paul Craig is pulling guard. Looks like he's trying to do jiu-jitsu with him and literally just sat down to his back. Something you generally don't see in mixed martial arts these days. But it looks like Paul Craig is going to be implementing the grappling in this fight. He pulls guard again. Crazy, crazy. Oh, and he's in a leg entanglement and a heel hook attempt right here. Ooh, that looks kind of deep. Oof. I can't see the exact bite he has on it, but this does not look good for Volkan Ozdimir. He really needs to separate the feet. He seems like he took a little bit of slack out of the leg lock, which is good. Oh, yep. Paul Craig is adjusting, but Paul Craig is in a good position to finish this right here. This is worrisome for Ozdimir. Ozdimir needs to take the feet off of his hip, and it's kind of alarming that he's not using that strategy. He seems to be hand fighting at the point where you're not supposed to be hand fighting. You're supposed to be taking the feet off of the hip, because you need to solve the problem of the initial position. Ozdimir is turning up. Looks like he's starting to get his knee out, and he slips out. Wow. Cheeky stuff there. Cheeky stuff. They're back up standing, and Paul Craig goes immediately for the takedown, and he did a classic double leg, and when it falls, you try to go half guard. Now he finds himself in butterfly guard, looking for a triangle armbar situation. Very clear that he wants to make this a grappling fight. And he's got him in closed guard, at least, you know. The good thing about closed guard is Ozdemir can't just stand up and walk away from it. He's got to deal with the fact that the guard is closed around him. Once, though, Paul Craig puts his feet on his hips, then it's a different story that he could just stand up whenever he wants, just like he did. And Paul Craig looking to go for another leg attack, it seems. Yeah, but he's got to be careful. He seems to keep leaving his face open right here. And he's trying to do some of the modern jiu-jitsu guards like De La Hiva guard and these modern jiu-jitsu positions. But you have to account that you could get punched in the face from some of these. So, you know, he's fighting this in a way that's kind of not 100% MMA grappling. He's fighting it in a little bit more of a traditional grappling sense. So he's really got to be aware of the strikes as well. But I've never seen Paul Craig fight. He goes for another leg attack here. And if he's really good, if he understands the game well enough, he can take note of the type of defenses that Ozdemir is doing. And next time that he's in on a leg, he can capitalize on what Ozdemir did not do to defend correctly. So when you're in a leg lock like how they were before, there's a certain time where you need to separate the actual hold of the leg lock, and there's a certain time where you need to deal with the hands and the hand fight of the leg lock. And it did not seem that Ozdemir had the... Oh, Ozdemir with a strong punch to the head, and Paul Craig sits down. It's hard to tell if these punches are actually affecting him, like they're knockout blows, like how you'd normally see someone take a shot and go down, or if Paul Craig just wants to be in a grappling scenario on his back. It's crazy that he's pulled guard yet again, trying to do anything to get that grappling going. And, you know, a major difference that you're seeing here between MMA grappling and regular grappling is in jiu-jitsu, they are forced to engage with you. You could sit down and do guard, and the referee will force the top player to engage with the guard player. But if you pull guard in MMA and you don't have your legs wrapped around them or a closed guard type thing, ooh, big head kick from Paul Craig. That seems to be the end of round one. I don't know, some weirdness happening. Seems like one of those mini earthquakes that happen at my place. Anyway, in MMA, you could just stand up and walk away, and the referee will stand both people back up, and they'll make them keep fighting fisticuffs with their hands. And in grappling, you're forced to engage on the ground. So a big difference between MMA grappling and regular grappling is, my dad says, demon in your apartment. Yeah, like my dishes just started moving around, and like a fork fell in my sink across the room, and then things are starting to shake, which is wild. But now weird things where the toilet is making weird noises. Anyway. Oh, well, I think since I changed the light at your place, Dad, the demon actually came with me. But back to my point that I was trying to make as I warm up with my commentary here is that in MMA grappling, you have to develop a strategy where they cannot just stand up and get away from you because you're not forced to engage on your back like you are in regular grappling. Anyway, we've begun round two here. Paul Craig obviously wants to keep this as a fight on the ground. Ozdimir wants to keep this as a fight standing. And Paul Craig just does not seem to have this ambitious, mean look in his eye anymore, as he looks like he's just kind of laying there on the ground. But the ref stands them back up, as they will always do, because Ozdemir wants no part of the grappling. And Paul Craig's throwing some kicks here. Classic, shoots in on a double leg, goes in for the leg lock, in a position called single leg X right there. Paul Craig with a kick to the head. And you could tell Ozdimir striking is way more polished. Paul Craig's hands are a little bit down too low. Paul Craig shoots in for another takedown, pulls half guard. And Ozdimir doing an interesting thing where he keeps the guy's head and face in the same spot and goes to punch him in the head. My dad says, "Did you notice at my place after you fixed one light, the other light went out?" Yes, I did notice that. But it's okay. The demon's over here at my place, so you got nothing to worry about. Vulcan Ozdimir stands up and gets away. You know, with the half guard, your leg is a little bit more trapped, and it's hard to just stand up and get out of that, you know? But it's not impossible. You got to go into positions like close guard, rubber guard, or leg entanglements to really keep them attached to you in a slippery, sweaty, no-gi MMA type context. Man, Paul Craig shoots in for the double leg, but he almost pulls to bottom mount, which is no good. This is called three-quarter guard, where he just has a guy's ankle trapped. And the guy escapes back to half guard. And he looks exhausted. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a fight one for Ozdemir, because Paul Craig looks absolutely exhausted. And he's getting some punishment down on the bottom. Volkan Ozdimir stands up and puts his hands on his hips, and the ref stands them back up. You know, it's a really tough rule. I think that the referee shouldn't get involved whatsoever, and that if you pull guard and if you're on your back, the top guy should have to engage with you. You know, it's a little bit crazy that the referee gets to decide at what point they want to engage. But I'm a little bit biased. I'm the grappler, and most people want to see those standing knockout finishes. So just simply pulling guard and going to your back isn't a viable strategy. If the top person doesn't want to engage, they won't engage. They'll just stand back, and the referee will stand them both back up. So another way that they tried to equalize the striking out with grappling with the rule set in the UFC. But whatever, it is what it is. Oh, a spinning back elbow from Paul Craig. You could definitely see the clear difference in the level of striking between Ozdemir and Paul Craig. Paul Craig looking pretty labored with his shots. Even though he does have some skills in the standing position, he definitely wants this to be more of a grappling fight. And some massive hook punches from Ozdemir, and they go back down to the ground. You know, it's interesting. Like I said earlier, a nice up kick attempt just barely grazes his face, and Ozdemir signals, "Get back up." You know, if Ozdemir punches him in the face, he just sits down and starts doing guard, where normally when you see someone get punched and they go down, you'd think that they got hurt, you know? But that's not the case here. And that concludes round number 2. Pardon me. So I guess this would be 2-0 for Vulcan Ozdimir. And this isn't looking good for Paul Craig. That was the end of round number 2. And they got a commercial plan, and round number 3 will be up soon. I wonder if the second person in this chat is El Goon. El Goon, send me a message if you're in the chat. All right. Round 3 beginning right now. Volkan Ozdemir takes the center of the octagon, starts establishing his jab, and starts throwing his leg kicks. Classic, great thing to do as the superior striker. When I had one of my students fight in MMA once, that was the same advice that I gave to him about establishing your jab and taking the center of the octagon. And he didn't listen to me. He goes in for a crazy Superman punch and got taken down immediately. But we're not there. We're here. Oof. Big uppercut from Volkan Ozdemir. Like I said, Paul Craig is looking pretty exhausted, doing anything he can to try to get this fight to the ground. And he might get TKO'd here from the bottom of the half guard. He looks for an omoplata submission, a shoulder lock. But Ozdemir is wise to it and pulls out. Ozdemir backs up, and the referee forces Paul Craig to stand back up. Paul Craig looks at the referee like, you prick. And, it's good to be good at grappling, but this is not the way that you're going to become the champion by pulling guard and only doing the style. It's not winning Paul Craig the fight. You need to be sufficient in wrestling so that you could take the guy down and that you could hold him there. He shoots in for a takedown, but another point here on shooting a takedown on a guy who's skilled in the standing position is he's going to bump you forward and hit you with his hips. Up, he goes for a leg entanglement position, but Ozdemir adapts and stays out of it, backs up, and the ref stands him back up. Ozdemir knows that his best chance of winning this fight is going to be with like a Hail Mary type leg lock. So he wants to stay out of that range. The commentators are saying the only actual takedown is from Ozdemir, which is true. And Ozdemir is, not afraid to be in the grappling exchange with Paul Craig for a little bit, but this has mainly been Volkan Ozdemir's fight this whole time. Yes, it's too late for the grappling guy. Let's see, how much longer left in this round? One minute, 22 seconds here left in the round. Paul Craig throws his hands up in the air like, come on, engage with me on the ground. But the ref will just continue standing them back up. He eats a nice jab to the face. Too little, too late, as they say, Dad. Too little, too late. Ozdemir shoots in for a takedown as a laugh. And 45 seconds left. This should be an easy coast for Ozdemir to win this fight, even though Paul Craig getting a couple strikes in here. When you're going against the guy's coach is yelling at him like crazy, freaking out on the side. I don't even know whose coach that is, but when you're going up against a experienced guy in defending takedowns, he'll hit you with his hips. It's called a hip bump, or he'll strike you with his hips in a way when you go and you shoot him for the double leg. And when you shoot him, it's like a brick wall. Well, that concludes 3 rounds. I don't see how Volkan Ozdemir could have lost that fight. But we will be up next with the official decision, and Paul Craig sits down because he's so exhausted. We got a great UFC card today. We got Molly McCann next, and she is the sister of Patty Pimblett, who will be fighting later on in the card. I'm really curious to see what Molly McCann is. She is a tough biatch. She is no slouch. All right, the official decision. Bruce Buffer. Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. All 3 judges score this fight 30-27 for the winner, Volkan Ozdimir. Just like I was saying, every round, Volkan Ozdimir. Clear-cut victory. Good for him. Michael Bisping is interviewing him now. They're doing some replays now. All right, and that concludes the fight with Volkan Ozdemir and Paul Craig. Good victory for Volkan. I will see you guys back on the next fight with Molly McCann. Thank you so much for doing this live with me, and peace.